Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneur Show. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro for anyone who's out there. You can find us on Instagram at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs or at Justin Bizzarro. You can also find this show and the other shows we do on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, or any of the other places you grow yourself through podcasts. So I'm just going to dive right into it today. I have Dennis back from Chick-in Waffle from Kansas City, Missouri. How are you doing today, Dennis?
I'm great, Justin. Thanks for having me back. Excited to get on the show again. Always a good time.
Yeah, so the couple things. One is the last time we released an episode was May 19th, 2023. So quite a bit has obviously probably happened in the last 20-ish months, 21 months, or 19 months, thereabouts. One, probably for you as a business. Number two, the last time we recorded, I don't know if anyone knew this or anyone ever picked up on it, but I'd literally landed at an airport. My flight was delayed. I was on the way to record, got stuck in traffic. I pulled over, used a converter that I always carry in a portable recording system, and we recorded the last episode while I was literally roasting in my car at 110 degrees in the middle of New York City on the way to the studio to record. So I didn't quite get there. We were able to fix it, but just a confession for the crowd, the dedication. I didn't want to push Dennis off, and the episode turned out really well. And I did have to do a lot of cutting and sound stuff that normally doesn't happen in a studio. But it's a reason I carry backups, is just so one, I can do it at location with individuals, and then two, if I ever run into an emergency, a car's pretty soundproof if you pull it off in a good area and are able to do that as long as you don't talk too loudly and create an echo. So, confession, I don't typically do that. It just happened last time. And I remember it sweating, just dripping sweat in the car, roasting, talking on the phone with you. So,
well, if I went off on any tangents, I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was at a very different mindset then. It was all very much kill or be killed, I guess, at that time, just trying to hit quotas and hit numbers and all that. But it's a little bit different now, more organized for sure. So Dennis, talk to us about what has happened over the last year and a half. I know you've done some transition, you've rethought about your business, you've started to build a commissary. Talk to me about all of those things that are sort of in the works and where you've come since the last 2 years, since we last talked.
Oof. How much time we got?
As long as you want. It's your show, man. And I'm not in the car toasting, so we go as long as you want.
Very good. You're right. A lot has happened. So in the last year and a half, I guess a year and a half ago when we were talking, I was probably very excited and telling you about all the new stores that were opening up. We opened up an Arizona market. We sold to a franchisee out there, 3 locations. He promised to open up more. We had a bunch of other ones in the pipeline here in Kansas City and then one overseas. And since then, Arizona, for example, opened, and we learned a lot of lessons. We had 3 stores open and close within a year. Not because the stores weren't performing, but I think it was a lack of experience on my part as far as picking the right franchisee. I won't get into too much details about what transpired, but let's just say they just weren't on the up and up, and there was, a bunch of integrity issues between us and that franchisee. So we made the difficult decision to shut those 3 locations down. And the problem with shutting down locations, especially, when you open and close in 12 months, 3 separate locations in a state that you're, trying to expand in and did a lot of marketing in, aside from the financial losses that you get for all the marketing spend and all the training and traveling out there, it really hurts the brand. And, obviously I don't think, our customers here in Kansas City have any idea what's going on in Arizona. But, if we ever make it back to Arizona, let's say 10 years from now, we might be very well might be remembered as that place. Oh, they opened up and then they were gone. Maybe they won't remember us at all, but you never know. And that's just kind of the thought that's always in the back of my head when I was made that decision. But ultimately, that experience really put things into perspective. When I decided I wanted to franchise, I take it back. Franchising has always been my goal. When I started Chick-in Waffle, my wife started Chick-in Waffle, we wanted to, write down all the steps, and we figured out our operations manual and procedures for everything, because we knew that the end game here, once we got the store running and we proved the concept with the first location, is we were going to automatically start franchising and scale as quickly as possible. And I can tell you from now that the only reason I thought that is because I thought, hey, that's the only way to do it. Right? Because you look at all these big chains, whatever, the McDonald's of the world, the Popeyes, the Chick-fil-A's, they're all a franchise model, so to speak. And so one leads to the conclusion that, hey, this is how I have to do it in order to be able to scale. And the truth of the matter is it's one way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it. And some might say, hey, it's the quickest way to scale. And it's true, it is the quickest way to scale. It's also the quickest way to fail, because you don't have any, as much as you dig into, your operations manual and your training and everything like that, just partnering up with somebody who just doesn't share the same values and integrity as you, and has that same, vision of your brand, and no matter how much you try to explain and teach them your vision and your culture, they either have it or they don't. And if you don't have that experience, if you have never franchised before, and it's almost impossible to get it right. You could get lucky maybe with one or two, and I've gotten lucky with some franchisees, but in this particular case, I didn't. So after Arizona, I was down. I was upset. I felt like we took, a huge step forward and then a million steps backwards. And I was lost. And ultimately, when I get lost, now I need to find answers. And so I started looking for people who know this business, know the franchising business, knows the benefits of it. I think, Justin, you introduced me to Sam, and Sam actually came out to Kansas City, and I gave him a tour, and we talked in depth, and he's a very knowledgeable guy. I met with it's an acquaintance. We've actually become friends since then, and his name is Abdul. He is the CEO of, I think the name of the company is HTX Foods or something like that. They're based out of Houston, Texas. And they're a mid-size company, franchise company. They carry the Popeyes, IHOP, Sonic, Pizza Hut names, and they have about 65 locations kind of scattered through Texas and the Midwest. And, I sat down with that guy extensively, and I said, somebody like you, a franchisee of your size, when you look at my brand, what are your thoughts? Because I got to get into these guys' brains, because ultimately those are the operators you want. You want those multi-unit, people with a huge team behind them. They have, regional managers and operations managers and HR people, because that's what it takes to grow. And he's like, well, I love your food, I love your concept, but I would never buy your franchise. And I asked him why. And he said, your brand is there, the idea is there, but your execution as far as having an operations team is not there. He's like, my level, and people at his level, not my level, but people at his level, they don't have time to babysit these concepts. They want something that they can invest in. They can, put somebody on their team assigned to that brand that learns everything, gets trained on it, and then they'll hire their regionals and their GMs and all that stuff, and they don't have time to call and babysit and, hey, what do we do in this situation? What do we do in this situation? And he's like, he's like, you're not going to be able to field all my calls. He's like, you're a busy guy. So, and he's right. Having 5-6 locations, you can call, me, and I probably could keep up. But if we get to 20, 30, 40 locations, there's no way I'm going to be able to handle all that. So you need a team. And so that was his advice. It's like, put together a team. All right. Noted. So then the next thing I did was I flew out to New York, Long Island actually, and I met with Kathleen Wood. She's a restaurant person through and through. Kathleen Wood started out with Raising Cane's when they had 3 locations, and she was their chief operating officer up until they got to like I think 150 locations. At which point she left, started her own consulting firm, and she consults with some of the biggest brands like you've ever heard of. And so she was having a little small, what do they call it, a summit. And so that was a lot of fun. We went out to New York. There was, I want to say about 60 of us, all founders. Only founders are allowed to show to the summit. And as far as the size, anywhere from 3 units to we had somebody there that had 125 or 130 units. City Barbecue founder was there, and we all were in a room, and it was 3 days long. And I feel like in all my learning and trial and error, I got the most valuable information from those 3 days that I have in the last 4 or 5 years. And it's simply because we all have the same pains, all of us founders, and there's others that have overcome it and they're facing different pains, and then there's some that are right there in the same boat with us. And so we broke off into those small groups and we had different exercises. And so when I came back from that seminar, I think at that point that's where I locked myself in my office and wrote down the new game plan. And the new game plan was we weren't going to offer any more franchises, period. And we were going to put together a team. And so since then, we've hired an operations manager and we've hired a regional manager to help us just, take care of our stores here locally in the Kansas City market. We've started working with brokers, specifically national brokers that are on the hunt for pad sites. We came up with a prototype for a new build out that we think is the right footprint for us. We're no longer wanting to do these second gens where we have to be so hands-on because everyone's different now. Everything's going to be exactly the same. Equipment, measurements, all of it's the same. And we're setting all this up to scale. And now we have also, we teamed up with some different lenders that are very good at what they do. And so the funding is there to be able to scale this thing on our own and control our own destiny. And I think franchising is not out of the question for me completely. I think once I get to 20, 30, 40 units of corporate stores, I think then franchising can be back on the table. And then add on top of that the commissary kitchen, which is about we're 4 or 5 months. We're almost done. I could see the finish line, but we're about 5 months behind schedule. All of our equipment's in, finishing touches. I think inspections are next week. Fingers crossed, everything goes good and there's not anything. This will be the second inspection that we've done, so hopefully all goes well, and then we can have this thing up and running before February. And then other than that, like I said, we went from having 8 stores, we're back down to 5 stores now. We have one under construction, which is due to be open at the end of the month here at Overland Park. And then, like I said, we're actively looking for pad sites to start building new as well. And that's kind of been my year and a half there.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about was what I've seen some of lately, just both for your knowledge and the audience's knowledge, is that I've started to see these hybrid models. I like them a lot. I don't know how successful they're going to be. It is something newer, and I'm sure someone in the past has tried it. Don't get me wrong. But I've seen where the franchisor partners with a franchisee. So the franchisor is 50% owner in the franchisee company, and then they bring in a franchisee who is the other 50%. Sometimes it's 60-40, depending on the comfortability of the franchisor in either direction. And then the first franchise that truly happens is a sort of guided one where both the franchisor and the franchisee get to grow and train and learn together, and even open maybe 2 or 3 together to learn the model and then go out and truly do a franchisee model, because there's things to learn on both ends. I don't know necessarily how well it works. So far, what I've seen, as long as the relationship and the partnership remains true and it's a good operator as the franchisee, and understanding that they're helping grow it, and that sort of person, that leveraged person, is also part of the corporate structure in a way, and is an in-between. And so they have a lot of power as a franchisee. So it's a privileged one. I don't know how that works in a hierarchy situation amongst franchisees. But I will say that it is just a guiding way. And then what I've seen also is the franchisee, that was the initial one that did the 2 to 3 stores. Actually, not only is he a franchisee, but he gets absorbed in corporate as the corporate franchisee university director eventually, or a position of training of something similar. So I've seen both and I like it. But anyway, go ahead, Dennis. Sorry.
I mean, I've heard of that model. I mean, and it really, I don't know how you would structure that deal. The problem with partnering with somebody, at the end of the day, if they don't do a good job, you know what I mean? You're either buying them out, or it's just, it gets messy at that point. Whereas, like a Chick-fil-A model, hey, give us 10 grand. We'll build out the whole store. We'll split it after we take up all the top end money off the top first, and then we'll split whatever's left. But they could still be fired. I mean, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, if they're not performing and they're not doing their duties, versus, another model where you say, okay, we'll build, we'll partner on this. You're a franchisee. I'll build 70%. You put in 30%, and however. But, let's just say it doesn't work out, because at the end of the day, similar to my story with franchise, it's all about who you pick. If you pick the wrong person, you're inexperienced. And there's nothing wrong with saying I'm inexperienced in picking the right person. It's not because I'm a bad judge of character. It's just, you don't know, if you've never gone into the franchise game, you don't know who to pick. You don't know what to look for. You don't know what to ask. You don't know what the red flags are. And, I'll be completely 100% transparent. When I started franchising, we used a group called the Franchise Creator, which was like it's like a niche consulting firm / franchise attorney out of Miami. And, we paid them, close to $60,000 to, create our FDD and to get us, our marketing and to do our operations manual and all that stuff. And so I would go to them for advice, because you would think that they're the experts. I just paid them $60,000 to consult. So, Arizona, for example, that franchisee, my gut was telling me something's off about this guy, but they're telling me, no, this is normal. This is what you're going to run into. This is what we call a business guy. This guy's a whale. He knows what he's doing. He's got a lot of experience, and I'm like, okay, he says he has a lot of experience. He says he owns all these subways, but I haven't seen anything. And they're like, well, we could, you could ask the guy for, his financials, and proof and all that stuff, but he might get offended. And I'm like, what do you mean? He might get, like, this is like a big deal. He's like, yeah, but like, you have to understand that you're a small fish compared to, the other chicken places that he's probably looking at. So you don't want to offend. And I genuinely, that's the advice that I got from these guys, which is terrible advice. And so, yeah, absolutely, you could do it that way, this hybrid model. But at the end of the day, I feel like you might actually be in a worse boat, in my opinion, just because if you pick the wrong person, now not only did you pick the wrong franchisee, but you also have money, tied up in an investment in a restaurant somewhere that is probably getting run into the ground if you pick the wrong person.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Let's talk about a little bit about on social media. We saw you post something on there. You've simplified your menu a little bit in one of your locations. You're testing different menu items and simplicities or different way of presenting the menu. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's been a fun project. So that's what I've been working on for Probably 3 months. The past 3 months, that's been my, 6 hours a day. That's what we're working on. And here's what it boils down to. As far as a chicken restaurant's concerned, I'm a premium product. You're going to expect, when you come to one of my restaurants, you're going to expect a premium price. I'm not here to compete with the Raising Cane's or, Wingstop or any of those guys. It's fresh, never frozen chicken. It's hand breaded. Our waffle mix is hand battered. Everything is made fresh. Our sauces, everything, and we're investing a lot in this commissary kitchen to be able to mass produce this to even cut our costs even more. But at the end of the day, whether I like it or not, when you put a drive-through window on a building, there's always going to be that sticker shock. And I know this from experience because we have a drive-through, and it's still one of the best performing stores that we have. But again, it's sticker shock when you get to a drive-through window and there's, it's $60 when there's 3 people in the car, that are ordering. I mean, it's just, they're not used to it. And and the way I'm thinking, I'm going to be on these pad sites, moving forward, we want to do all these new build outs, which we have this beautifully designed building that's approximately 1,500 square feet, drive-through, small lobby, 2 drive-through lanes, and then outdoor seating. It looks super cool. And if we're building these pad sites, chances are these pad sites are going to be right next to, a Cane's and right next to a Taco Bell and right next to a McDonald's, because that's just, the lay of the land. I mean, probably anchored by a big supermarket somewhere. And I have to create value. Now, I don't like shrinking portions. And so that was one of the options, because everybody, I apologize. We partnered up with a company, Ovation. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they do surveys, guest surveys, and that was probably one. We did that recently, and that's the best. I think we spend about $500 a month. It's the best $500 a month I've ever spent.
Talk to me about that a little bit. Are they email, or are they something the guest gets when they check out? How does all of that work? Because I'm taking on a tangent, I know, but it is an important thing to survey your customers, and it's not something we generally talk about on the show.
Yeah, so it's integrated with our POS system with Toast. There's an API. So anybody who orders through our website, the website's automatically asking them for their email or phone number. And so when they order, approximately 30 minutes after they receive their food, they're going to get a text message or an email, and it's going to ask them 2 simple questions. And then it's going to ask and then if they answer those, basically they'll get a text message that says, can you answer 2 questions for a chance to win $100? And so they'll answer the 2 questions. It'll give us their contact information. It'll get loaded up into their dashboard. And so we're able to reach back out to that customer if, for example, they gave us a bad survey. It'll automatically alert us, the executive team, but also the store managers, where they can respond, manually type up a response and from their phone and send it right to the customer. They can also automatically send them like a discount code for a future visit. Like if we really drop the ball, we want to give them, 30% off or a free meal next time, it'll automatically generate a code in your POS system, and you could text that to the customer for them to use the next time they come in. But more importantly, it's giving you the data that you need, so yeah, I'm logging in here as we're speaking. I just want to see what we're looking at. So hang on one second. Let me look. So I've had this we got it in November. All right. Beginning of November. And so let's see, that's 4,000.
Are you talking about you switched over to Toast in November?
No, the Ovation. So We've gotten since then, we've gotten approximately 5,300 surveys.
Whoa. I was not expecting that in 3 months, less than.
So I pushed every single store and we put competitions out. So here's the thing. So it's online orders automatically get sent to the customer. The in-store customers, there's every receipt has a QR code on the top of it. And so I pushed our servers, our cashiers, essentially, we did a contest within our store where whoever got the most signups won. I think, what did we do? We did like $250 gift card to Quick Trip, which is, a gas station. And we did that for each store. So each store would get, the winner of each store would get $250 gift card. And the way it works is whoever's on the cashier, they're signed in. So whatever receipt prints under their name gets scanned by the customer. And so we had a whole word track that we trained everybody on. And so whenever the customer's getting ready to check out, they give them the receipt and they say, hey, we'd love to get your feedback. You get a chance to win $100. All you have to do is scan the QR code and answer 2 questions. It will take you less than 1 minute. And obviously these, it's a competition, so everybody's trying to win. And we had a huge scoreboard. We got these dry erase boards that we put up in each restaurant. And the managers were keeping tally of every employee and their performance on how much surveys they were getting. And that's the push. It also integrates with your Grubhub. So any orders that come in through Grubhub, they'll automatically get surveyed as well. Unfortunately, DoorDash and Uber Eats, they don't want to share the customers' data with us. So you can't reach out to those customers.
I know that's a weird wall there, but yeah, go on. I want to talk to you about delivery at some point, but go on.
But Grubhub does. And then the last point of contact with these customers is we put stickers on every single table, QR code stickers as well, that say, answer 2 questions for $100. And so now we have all these emails and phone numbers and it tracks. It tells you how, it's like this customer comes back and it'll tell you this customer came back, and it'll tell you, for example, if we got a bad survey and there's an AI function onto this system as well, where let's say somebody sends a survey, oh, the food was cold and they forgot my drink, whatever the case is. There's a button. If let's say your managers, don't know how to punctuate or, spell, you can hit the AI button and it'll automatically type up a paragraph based, and they're smart. I mean, it's AI, so it's reading exactly what the customer's saying, and then it's responding to the customer saying, it's going to apologize, it's going to acknowledge, and then it's going to make it right and be like, and it'll give you the option to give the customer, 50% off, 30% off, refund their deal, all from the same system, all from your phone, from an app. So it's pretty neat.
I love this. I think it's an incredible way of connecting with your customers on a greater level, offering them a greater level of service. I also think knowing the data that comes out of knowing how often certain customers come to what stores and different stores they do, and the data that's starting to come out of things like Toast, in addition to what we're talking about, is pretty phenomenal. I like all of those things, identifying the greater customers. I also, and I'm going to segue here, you did something for followers and everyone will look at it. I want to wait. My video for this will actually come out the day this podcast come out, so it'll come out later so everyone can see it, who's my followers who didn't see this the first time on any of the Chick-in Waffle social media feeds or individuals. But you sent out sort of what I would call an influencer package for those people that are helping your brand. Talk to me a little bit about the mindset about how that. Where
I will. Yeah. Let me just go back to the menu real quick.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
Yeah. Go on.
So with Ovation, once you get all these surveys, and the more surveys you get, the better picture you get. And so there's a function on there that basically scans through all the surveys, all the texts, and then it'll create some an image basically, and it'll show you keywords that are being used the most. And then the more that word is being used, the bigger it is on the image. And so there's a bunch of small words, and then and so price comes up a lot. More options comes up a lot. And so I've always been a believer that let's just stick to the things that we know how to do. That's why we don't want to add too much to the menu. And so I'm sitting there and I'm staring at our menu. And I think, me personally, because I know the backside of things, I know our menu is not that complicated because I know there's not that many ingredients on our shopping list, unlike other restaurants. We have our chicken tenders and our chicken wings, and our breading is the same for both of them. And then everything else is very shelf stable, jalapenos, pickles, and then our sauces. There's nothing crazy. And then our waffle batter. We're not, and so I don't want to add too much and I don't want to slow down the kitchen. I don't want to make it too complicated, but how do I show value? All right. And I don't want to, again, to lower the price, you have two options. You're either going to shrink your portions or you're going to give them more, I guess, food for the more bang for your buck. Right. And so I'd rather do that than drop my prices. And so how to do that successfully was, and again, we're still testing this thing out. So I can't definitively say, hey, this is the greatest idea I've ever came up with. But I put the control to the customer because prior to this, when you go to our store and you want to order a chicken and waffle meal, it was $11.49, and you don't have the choice. It's going to come with two tenders and a waffle. Well, what if now I have it to where they can come in and order a chicken waffle meal, and they can choose one tender, they can choose two tenders or three tenders, and it's three different prices. So if they want, and our tenders are huge, so one tender is now $9.99. And two tenders is actually $12.99. So it's instead of $11.49, I sold $9, but now you also get two sides with it. So if you don't want a waffle, let's say you want mac and cheese, we added mac and cheese. You want slaw, we added slaw. And then you have two different types of waffles to choose from. And so it's just giving that customer more of an option to customize it exactly how they want. So if they're not that hungry, there's a price for that. And then, or if they're on a budget, there's a price for that. And then if they're, they just don't care and they want to indulge, then it's all, it's all there for the taking. And so other than adding the mac and cheese, which is a fairly, we went through a lot of test runs. Now the question is, the mac and cheese is great. I think we finally nailed down a good recipe for it. Something that can hold up in the hot wells, but now we have to figure out how to mass produce it because the commissary kitchen's right around the corner. So I got to figure out how to make it in the commissary. So we'll get to that bridge when we get there. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
So the menu's layering, right? It's like I pick how many tenders I want. Then I choose what type of waffle I want. And in addition to the waffles, I choose sides and sauces. Can you run down that list of sides and sauces then again for us for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is you get to choose between a bubble or a Belgian waffle. And so those are remaining on the menu for now. I just sent out a contract that we just signed. So in the next 12 weeks, we are getting custom waffle plates designed for all of our locations. We ordered 250 sets. And so basically they're going to take our logo, like part of our logo, and they're going to mold that into a waffle plate. And it's going to become a hybrid. So half of the waffle is going to be a bubble waffle and the other half is going to be a Belgian waffle. And then that way we can eliminate that as being an extra option. There's just a waffle now. It's going to be our branded waffle. And so I'm excited for those and see what those look like as far and what
incredible.
They come out
I
with.
like that a lot. Go on.
So as far as the sides, you can choose between mac and cheese, a honey slaw, and then fries. So those are your options, as well as the Belgian and the bubble waffle currently. And then as far as sauces, we have a ton of sauces. So you got, obviously ranch, barbecue, a spicy honey garlic, our chicken sauce, which is our own sauce. It's like a Chipotle ranch sauce, maple syrup, Nashville hot, Asian chili, queso, brown gravy, tikka masala, garlic parmesan, lemon pepper, honey mustard. I think those are all of them. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like the variety Before we move on, is there anything you want to add to the menu? Sorry about jumping topics. I got excited.
No, you're good.
And I didn't want to forget about that. But no, because I think it's important because you don't know, you're still surveying. I think that's important, and you're still making sure the customers are involved in the process, the loyal ones, the ones there from day one. I think that's important as well. So I want to highlight
People
all
don't
that.
like change, like that's my only feedback right now of I like the menu. I think the menu, it doesn't matter what I like, right? It matters what the customers like. Now the thing is, when I'm at the store as much as possible right now because of the new menu, and I'm literally talking to every single customer that walks into the door and just writing down my notes off of each one that I talk to. And the reason being is their first reaction, if it's a customer that's been with us before, that's dined with us before, their first reaction is they walk in and they look at the menu and they're upset because it's a completely different design. They're probably walking in looking for that familiar dish, Asian chili waffle, that already had the toppings on it. And so then they see it, oh, you got rid of my favorite thing. Well, no, sir, we didn't get rid of anything. That everything that you have ever ordered is still on the menu. We haven't gotten rid of anything. In fact, we added items to the menu. It's just a different way of ordering it right now. So do you want 1 tender, 2 tender, or 3 tenders with that Asian chili waffle? And then when they see that, they're good. And I think the key is with change is people, they get scared of change. They're uncomfortable with it, whether it be customers or employees. And I think the key is to just be, like, for me personally, when I put in that change, I have to be confident. I have to be confident in my product, but I have to be also confident in the decision, because if you're not confident, it's going to show, and then the wheels kind of fall off the whole thing. So I think that's the key here, and that's kind of why I'm at that store as often as I am right now, to make sure that, I'm listening to the servers and how they're explaining the new menu to the customers and putting them at ease, because that's what we're running into. Now, the customers that have never dined with us before, and we've had a few of them that have come in fact today, that have never been to Chick-in Waffle, they walk in, they don't know any different. They don't know what the last menu looked like. And to them, this was very straightforward. I mean, they knew exactly they were able to read it a lot faster than the other one. Because the other one, you were sitting there and you were trying to read every description to see what toppings came on each one, because it was predetermined based off of which one you ordered. The Asian chili waffle, for example, came with shredded cheese and pickles and sesame seeds and Asian chili sauce. And now it's no, I want 1 tender with Asian chili, a waffle, and go ahead and throw some, jalapenos on there at no extra charge. And so that makes it a whole lot faster. And so I think when we get to the point where we start building more drive-throughs, now we've accomplished our pricing to make it more value. And then number 2, it's making it faster, because if I had put a huge drive-through digital screen board out there with all this text underneath it describing what each item has in it, they're going to be at the drive-through lane forever, especially when we start going into new markets where nobody's ever heard of us before.
Yeah, the thing I like about it also is it actually gives you the ability to have more variety and more customability. It also gives you the ability to add things in each category without disrupting a customer's menu when everything's already put together. And then in addition to what you said, I like it from a central production eventually standpoint, in that the sauces are categorized, your mac and cheese, your slaw, your french fries are categorized, even if it's fresh, even if you're punching them out in salt water or whatever and then sending them out. There's a standardization that's happening that allows growth and uniformity across every location.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, that was
and
that
now,
was the other thing.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
The other benefits that I've already seen is people, I don't, again, maybe it's a fluke, but it's what I've noticed is now when you put the customizing, everything is included, but then there are some certain upcharges. For example, like if you wanted extra chicken on your loaded fries come with 2 tenders, which is like more than enough food as it is. But now somebody's looking at the sides and they're like, okay, I want the loaded fries. It comes with 2 chicken tenders, unlimited topics. So then they start going and they're like, all right, cheese, jalapenos, pickles. I want ranch and barbecue sauce on it. And then they get, oh yeah, go ahead, throw extra chicken on there. That's $3. And then they say, okay, yeah, I want some mac and cheese on top of my loaded fries too. Well, that's another $3 too. So like those are up charges because those are, not necessarily toppings, but they're sides that they want added onto the loaded fries. And so, I mean, today we had a guy, I think it came out to like $24 for a plate of loaded fries. Now, mind you, it weighed 5 to 6 pounds worth of food, and he didn't finish it, but I mean, he was happy. That's what he wanted.
Well, what a good thing for social media that is, honestly, since we're in that world right now where that type of thing, I could see someone, influencers out there, go see, weigh your fries, your stack up fries at Chick-in Waffles and see who gets the most there. Cause not to do anything against you, but I think you have such a high quality product there. We talked about freshness. We've talked about popularity. It's worth the spend for sure. I want to talk about something else you said, though, on the menu about freshness, about quality, and about the way you've designed the menu. The other thing that it caters to is allow you to keep the freshness of your product and allow you to speed things up where not only the freshness, the quality of your products can still be delivered to the customer, but as your productivity increases or your sales increase, both they benefit each other. So your productivity increases because everything's very compartmentalized. And then in addition to that, your production's don't even worry about it. I can't talk today. Wow, guys. It's been a long day. This is my third recording today. Compartmentalized. And oh my goodness, it's embarrassing. But I think that what happens is you're able to structure it out and lay it out from an efficiency standpoint. In the new design you're talking about these pad layouts where everything's very uniform. It allows for that as well. And it allows the introduction of new products within each category, because as we discussed earlier, it just simplifies things for your staff too. Anyone who goes into a new location is being trained on the operations has also an easier understanding of how everything stacks together.
100%. Yeah. It's this menu really simple. I mean, training wise, this menu, I train the kitchen guys. I mean, we rotate our kitchen staff throughout our locations just to kind of keep things fresh. And so they'll do, 2 days here, 2 days there. And so today I had a new crew that came into the Independence location where we launched the new menu. And so they've never seen the new menu, but the trainer went in there and I think within 30 minutes they were good to go. I mean, because it's not too different from what we were doing before. It's just a matter of how they read the tickets now, right? But it just became intuitive. Like you explain it to them once and then now these guys got it and they're, rocking and rolling. So that is exciting because now it gets me thinking, our new layout, I could essentially have 2 lines going at the same time right now. And it won't be an issue because they will not, each box is like, before it was different. It was an assembly line. The waffle had to come first. And then and then the chicken get put on top of it, and then the sauce, and then all the toppings after that. But now it's how the customer builds it. So you just have 2 different stations, and it might not come with a waffle. You know what I mean? Like maybe they just wanted fries and slaw. So everything it changes the whole dynamic. And believe it or not, like that was the other thing. Like people are not we're chicken and waffles, but people aren't. A lot of people order waffles. I would say 80% of people order waffles, but still there's 20% that just want the chicken tenders and fries, which is great. And that speeds up the process a whole lot because you're not waiting, for the waffle is going to take us 2.5 minutes to cook anyway. So anyway, it just opens up a whole lot of possibilities to the menu and it looks cooler. And now it's like you said, it's customized speaking of influencers, and I think you had mentioned those PR packages that we sent out. That was actually not my idea. So that was one of our regional manager came up with the idea and said, "Hey, let's send out a package, for the holidays to all of these influencers." And these micro influencers are That's just the only way to do business now. I mean, the budget that I would have spent on, traditional advertising or even like Google ads or Facebook, I'd rather spend it I'm spending a fraction of it on these micro influencers, and I'm getting more results from their following than I think doing it through Google. Most of these guys, they just want free food. Every now and then, I mean, there's some that are, have a bigger following. There's one we worked with recently that, has 750,000 followers, local in Kansas City. And so, you pay that guy $250, but he comes in, he did like 3 different posts, 3 different videos for us. And then after that, he liked the food. He just starts coming back and just posting it for free. You know what I mean? And so, we worked with a bunch of different influencers throughout the year. And so we just kept tabs of them, and we sent out, all the influencers we worked with, we sent them out these little gift baskets, and they posted it, which was great, because it's like a connection, and that's the thing. Like, we didn't just want, like, mind you, it wasn't just the influencers that got it. We also pulled a report from our POS system. So we sent it to our 15 top customers, highest spending customers. And Mary, her name's Mary, her name will be engraved in my head, because this lady has been coming to our Bannister location for the last 3 years. And she has spent, just this year alone, or I'm sorry, not this year, last year. Last year, she spent $3,600. Now, obviously, we don't want to tell Mary she spent $3,600 at a restaurant in a year, but we did tell her that she was our number one customer. And then we sent her gift box with gift cards and hats and beanies and T-shirts and stickers and tumblers and mugs. I mean, we packed this thing to the brim. And Mary was ecstatic that she showed up to the drive-thru, the next day wearing the beanie and holding her tumbler in her hand. And we filled up her tumbler with frozen lemonade. And that's I think that's more exciting than sending out to the influencers. But every now and then, if I'm out in public and I see somebody wearing a Chick-in Waffle shirt, it's exciting. They don't know who I am, but I just, I look at it and I say, oh, well, that's cool. Like, to start seeing, or when you hear somebody talking about your restaurant in a conversation, I'm just like being nosy. That's a great feeling. And I think the more we get involved with the community, the more we do stuff like this, the more we become sort of a household name in this city. And then we can use that as part of our culture and train that to when we move to another city and we start opening up locations, in Oklahoma or in Dallas, we can snowball off of that same culture.
I love it. I think it's so key to recognize that. I don't think enough companies do that, recognize their top customers or their loyal drivers, if it's DoorDash or something like that. I don't think enough companies do that I'm aware of. I do think it's important. I also think and agree with, we live in a world of information moving so rapidly that it doesn't work traditionally as much anymore, for sure. And the speed at which social influencers can impact a business, videos, doing reels and stuff like that, it benefits them as well as your business. And so they get followers, they benefit potentially, if they're a digital creator, from revenue from Instagram or YouTube or whoever. And then at the same time, their viewership is now viewing your business on a regular basis. And often, if they get enough viewership or followers, these things are on repeat for like months at a time. If not a year later, sometimes they pop up on my feed. So I think that's the importance of it, for sure. What are you excited about this year? It's the beginning of the year. You've changed a lot in your business. You've done a lot of retracting and rebuilding and building structure. What are you the most excited about?
2 things. I think the first thing I'm excited about is getting to the finish line with this commissary kitchen. That is like, it's just, here's the thing. Like, when I was in the car business, I worked for somebody, for the last, while I was there for, 10 years, selling cars and making somebody really rich. And it was never mine. And leaving that and starting your own business is scary. And I think that's the hardest part, is taking that jump. and starting that business. But I look back on that when we first started Chick-in Waffle, and I think that was just like, that was as scary as it was. That was the funnest part I've had in this whole ordeal, is that jump, and and COVID, and just that initial scare, and then seeing everything come to fruition afterwards. Very exciting. And so it's kind of like a drug. You're just looking for that feeling again. And so this commissary kitchen is a completely new animal, and you know all about it, Justin. We've talked about it plenty of times. And so I'm excited to learn and start doing that, and then see how big we can get this commissary kitchen. Because not only is it servicing, our locations, we want to service other restaurants that are, these small, mid-sized chains that need help with, co-packing and getting their blends and sauces and everything made. And I just see so much potential. I mean, the guy that I hired to run that operation was telling me, because we're getting pricing right now because we're buying all these, garlic powder in bulk and stuff like that. And so he did the math. He goes on Amazon and he's like, we could sell our garlic powder that we just bought on bulk. We can just package it up in little 8-ounce, packets and sell it on Amazon and burn them as far as price, because of the price that we got it buying in bulk. And so I'm like looking online, and I was like, well, there's another revenue stream, slap a brand on there and start selling seasonings online.
Absolutely. So that's a vertical integration allows for revenue growth in those verticals.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anytime you can start a business or buy a business that directly helps your business as in a vertical, it's fun, and so like, now I'm itching. I'm thinking, man, like, what if I, because I tried the whole like I hired a graphic designer essentially to be like, design our menus and, do our social media and stuff like that. Unfortunately, like I got busy and I couldn't keep them engaged enough. And so they left us, and this was a while ago. But now I'm thinking, all right, now that I have people in place doing things, what if we start a marketing company that just specializes in marketing for restaurants, and we do these social media, these video posts and stuff like that. And so that, that's there's so many different things that our business relies on that we're constantly, shelling out money to all these companies to help us do. And so anytime we can find out, how we can, bring that in-house and turn it into another business, it's great. Especially once you start scaling, that's where it gets really fun.
I agree 100%. I think there's a need for what you just talked about desperately, someone who's actually in the business that knows how to do it, versus people outside of the food industry or restaurant industry trying to help everyone do reels or social media or whatever. What we found out is the ones who've done it themselves has figured out how to get the video content and cut it properly and get it online. And that's a skill that little thing, food customers, people, foodies, however you want to look at it, humans of lovers of food to that level that are influenced by this, they want to see a certain way of doing things. And it's better to get it from someone like you who has the experience than someone that's sort of still guessing and trying to figure it out or has a few clients. There is a way of doing it. I know that you guys, part of your growth is your social media presence. It is the relationship with the influencers. It is all those things. And I don't think the general restaurateur or entrepreneur knows how to, particularly in the food space, knows how to do that, and or has the time to invest in it, or they don't think so because their focus is somewhere else. But I agree, there is an opportunity there.
100%. Yeah, trying to do it yourself is impossible. Because the key to social media is consistency. I mean, and it has to be planned. And so when we're doing these videos, we're blocking out, 3, 4, 5 hours a day, not a day, but like twice a month, basically. So a total of 10 hours a month of just shooting videos back to back to back to back to back. And then they get edited into these small 10 to 15 second clips that get posted every single day. And if you're not doing that, the algorithms don't like you anymore. If you're not replying to the comments underneath it, the algorithms don't like you anymore. And you end up not showing up on people's feeds. And the more you do that, the more you know, have chances of going viral. And listen, virality isn't like I mean, obviously it's cool to see a video go viral, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to equal dollars and cents right away. But it's it's brand recognition at the end of the day. I mean, if your goal is to just drive traffic directly to your store, then you just need that one video, and you could recycle that video and put it on a you know, Facebook ad to show up, you know, 30 days out of the month, show up on people's feeds, and then that'll, you know, get people in there. But if your goal is to create this brand awareness to where when I open up across town, and as soon as I put my sign up or coming soon, everybody already knows, oh, that's the place that I saw on TikTok, like, you know, 3 weeks ago, or 3 months ago, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's the ability to have brand recognition going into a new city is huge. And the ability for social media just gains sometimes international recognition. So, I mean, that's a big deal too. And in your case, the World Cup is coming to Kansas City in 2026. So that's a year and a half away. So that kind of stuff is going to matter. Yeah.
So we're excited about this commissary kitchen, and then we're super excited about these new prototypes that we built out for buildings. So me and my brother are looking. So I think tomorrow we're driving down to Wichita, Kansas. We're checking out a couple pad sites out there and scoping the area. I think that's going to be our next move is Wichita, to try out our prototypes over there. And then Friday, I think we're meeting with a developer out in downtown Kansas City for the Power and Light District. They have some spaces out there that they actually reached out to us and want us to go there. So I think we might have the upper hand for once on the negotiations. We'll see. But that's cool because it'll be really close to all the action of the World Cup, and it's kind of perfect timing. And you know, everybody's going to be either at the game or, you know, downtown. I don't know if you've been to Kansas City, Justin, but the Power and Light District is like, I mean, it's cool. It's an outdoor, indoor venue. They got the T-Mobile Arena right there, and then all these bars and clubs and restaurants and hotels. So it's kind of the spot to be in downtown. And so I think ultimate, you know, visibility as far as a brand, like if you're there, anybody from out of town or anybody that's in town, that's kind of where they go, is to just have a place there would be nice. So we're going to be meeting with them on Friday, and then hopefully we can put a deal together on that one too.
Yeah, I think the more you retracted and restructured and put foundation in your business, the more, and then simplify the menu, the steps that you're taking, the mentorship. I think that event, to the point there, and I didn't make this earlier, that entrepreneurs often need other entrepreneurs in their industry initially while they're building their business, who are growth mindset just like them, that are willing to grow each other. It's essential. It's more important than the mentorship at that stage. Has a lot to do with peer-to-peer and then guidance outside of it, but there's a lot of peer-to-peer that needs to happen to help spark ideas or deal with things, because all of the entrepreneurs are dealing with things in life around the same period of time, or have been, or have dealt with it, or will be dealing with it. So that matters a lot, particularly in food, because there's so many complications, regulations, ingredients, inventory, transportation issues, you know, commissary, employees. I could keep going forever. Equipment, maintenance, whatever. So the thing about it is the ability to have someone who understands that and deals with it, and then be able to spitball ideas, which you've come a long way. You seeked knowledge, you were willing to pay for it, pay for mentorship, and it benefited you with a peer group and mentorship. And then it's also pointed you in some friendship places and benefits that have worked for you as well. So I think that's an important thing. I think the other thing is that's a very attractive thing to my first point. Like if I'm a real estate developer, if I'm someone, I want someone who's not only got an established business, but is able to to grow it and to scale it in a way that's easy to operate, because I want success and I want them to be able to pay rent or whatever. And when it gets even better, sometimes they're willing to pay for the equipment, the build out, all that stuff, and put you in. And so it's just like you're walking in and turning on a key. So I think that that's a cool thing. And I think the expansion to Wichita is a smart one. It's local, so local-ish. And yeah,
it's a good restaurant. It's a good testing ground. I mean, you have very diverse population. There's a lot of different restaurants and a bunch of different pockets in Wichita, which I really like. And so it's a good area to kind of test it out before kind of expanding outside of, our home state.
And it's closer to Denver, so that works for me anyway.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about, Dennis, before we sort of wrap things up? Is there anything that sort of has changed in your life differently, or the way you lead or the way you handle employees or anything like that you want to discuss? I mean, we've talked about a lot of changes in business and operations and marketing and advertising and menu development. But is there anything else you wanted to share? Or I just want to make sure you have your time and we go over everything about the business, but also the changes that have occurred in you.
No, I appreciate it, Justin. And again, thank you so much for having me. I mean, when I leave off, it's at the end of the day, I'm happy. If anybody's listening and feels like they're kind of stuck or they want to start scaling, I would say trust your gut, but seek advice. And number two, put a team together. I mean, as much as you like, try to wear the least amount of hats as possible, because I've been there, I put on a bunch of hats, but until I got, and even my team, like, it's not like you got a team and you forget about it. I mean, we're having meetings daily, and, sometimes I let them mess up just so they could learn from their mistakes. And other times you got to stop them before they make a huge mistake. But still, regardless, even if I still have to kind of oversee that side of things, it's left me in a position where I've mentally can really focus on the vision and keep the ball rolling in the right direction. Whereas before, I was getting pulled 6 different ways to Sunday, and there's a mistake that was looking at me in the face. So I'm glad, again, I learned from my mistakes. I'm glad I learned from my mistakes. But yeah, that franchising put it on hold for me, and it gave me some time to reflect. And then now I think we're ready to crush it in 2025 with a lot cleared off my plate and my mind kind of right where I need it to be. And you made a very good point, guys. If you're looking for help, it's out there. You have to find a mentor. You could pay for one, or you could just ask. And I'll be honest, the more successful they are, the bigger their companies are, the more they're inclined to help you. I've just going to the gym this morning, I ran into a guy that owns, what did he say? It was like 300 different Arby's locations all over the country. It's random. And he was next. I was wearing a Chick-in Waffle sweatshirt. I was in the locker room, and he started talking to me about Chick-in Waffle, and he turns out to be a restaurant guy. And so we hit it off. And this is just in the gym this morning. The guy's telling me his annual marketing budget is $60 million. I couldn't even wrap my head around that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that's the thing. Like, that sparked the whole conversation. Now, like, I know that I could put a face. That guy's there. I see him all the time. Now I know who he is. So, obviously I'm going to be asking him a ton more questions the next time I see him. Hopefully tomorrow morning around 5 a.m. And so that, you could find people like that, and they're always down to help you. Or like I said, Kathleen Wood was great, money well spent. Not only did I go to New York, but we flew her out to Kansas City, and she spent the day here, and she toured our restaurants, and she put together a packet for us, and we look forward to working with her throughout the year, just trying to figure out operations. But we also met a bunch of people in New York, from headhunters to venture capitalist guys to, money guys. And so those are all connections that you need and you can ask and seek advice from. So I would definitely, if it's out there, you just have to find it and ask away. And Justin, if you want to share my email with them in the captions or whatever, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming back on the show, Dennis. I appreciate you being authentic and sharing what's going on and your struggles and the ups and downs for sure. And sort of your, what I would call the actions or reactions that sort of led up to the changes and the pivots that you're doing in your business, the thought processes that ultimately led to the decisions, I guess would be a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
Again, I recommend going to the restaurant. I know Sam was head over heels about how well everything was there. And I know now with the transitions and the menus and the sort of refining your business, that it's only going to get better. So I want to make sure everyone has a chance to go to your store. So what cities are they located in now?
So we are in Kansas City, Missouri, 2 locations. In Kansas City, Missouri, we have one in Independence, Missouri, and then we have one in Lawrence, Kansas, and one in Overland Park, Kansas. And for whatever reason, if you're ever in the Middle East, we have one over there too in Ramallah, in the West Bank.
Wow. How did that happen? Hold on one second. We're just going to talk about that. No, I know your background is Palestinian, but did you just say the West Bank?
Yes.
Okay, go on. Let's talk about this. We didn't talk about this before. I didn't even know this.
Oh, yeah. No, that
okay, we're not ending the episode yet. We're going on. Talk to me about this.
Yeah, we opened that one up a year now. It's been a year.
How? Why? How did that occur?
It's a franchise location.
Yeah. Yeah.
They reached out to us. Coincidentally, it was so I guess the video showed up on the guy's TikTok, and then he reached out to. Who did he reach out to? He sent an email inquiry. I ignored it, and then somehow, some way, because everybody knows everybody over there, they figured out that it was a Palestinian-owned, concept, and they figured out that. So I had a family member from overseas say, "Hey, some guy just called me. He's interested in your restaurant. You should give him a call." And so, yeah, I'm like, okay, just send me his information. And so they sent me information. I'm looking. I was like, I've seen this name. So I looked through my emails and I saw that he had put in an inquiry, and I just never, I was not interested. I thought it was a joke, to be honest. And so then we talked, and then the guy was like, all for it. So I flew out there. Because I was hesitant at first. I was like, there's no way I want to do this. I don't even know how to do this. How are we going to get our product over there? But this guy was like all for it. And, he wanted it to happen. And I was like, well, listen, it doesn't make sense how much product are we going to be shipping over to you, to make it feasible, to make sense? And so this guy basically bought a 20-foot container worth of breading and marinade and sauces that we loaded to the brim and shipped it over there. And he got a warehouse and he's storing it. He's storing it in there. It's a year's worth of supply. And so that's just how we've been doing it. Every year we're going to send him a container. And, he opened and then a war broke out. So that's been challenging, but it's pretty cool to see because they have their own Instagram and TikTok page. It's completely in Arabic. So if you can look it up, it's chickenwaffle.ps. And so it's like all of our branding, but it's in Arabic. So it's always cool to see. But yeah, that's how that happened.
That's incredible. And the store's been doing well. You've talked to him and things have gone well, even amongst everything.
Obviously with the war, everything kind of slowed down, but I think things are getting better now. And so they're trying to, it's picking up again. So hopefully, the guy has intentions of opening up more than one location. But I think just the timing with the war was kind of off. But obviously, I think once now things kind of get back to normal, they'll start wanting to look for other locations. But yeah, we're excited about it. It's pretty cool to have one overseas. Not ideally the move I would have made if it was up to me, but it's just kind of how it worked out. again, you don't have to franchise every deal that comes to you. To me, this deal was more about like giving back to the community. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like even from a royalty perspective, I'm charging them like next to nothing. It's just more of, being able to build something in back home in Palestine and create jobs and stuff like that. That was more my drive for wanting to see it actually happen. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I think my first choice would have been, opening up in Dubai or Saudi Arabia or something. I feel like it would have done a lot better there, but we'll see how it goes.
It's bold, it's brave, it's courageous for sure. And I like it. And I like that you're getting experience on shipping internationally, and because that's going to matter for the commissary. I think all of it are just small
we had
pieces.
to get what was that license? It starts with an I. IFSA.
Yeah, I'll think of it in a second. Oh my God. International Food Safety. Yeah, I think it's an IFSA.
Yeah. So that was like, we were not expecting that. And then we're like, oh crap, we got to get an IFSA. So we scrambled for that.
That's a good thing though. It's a good thing to go through that process, be able to have that for yourself and know that you can do it, and know that a container can successfully be shipped to the Middle East. And fried chicken businesses do very well over there and around the Mediterranean belt there for sure. Very cool. I didn't know that. I love that a lot, actually. And I think that that's going to pay its dues in many, many other ways for you, especially in vertically integrating your business, but also in starting to understand what franchising or what international business is about in the food game. And it's not as hard as everyone thinks it is, but you just got to have the discipline and make sure you always check your boxes, dot your I's, cross your T's, whatever, it's important. But I like this a lot for you, especially with the commissary. So thanks for sharing that, Dennis. So
absolutely.
I'll give it one more chance. Anything else you want to share before we get off?
No, thank you, Justin.
You're very
always
welcome.
A pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you everyone for listening in. I love you guys. I appreciate all the support. I know there's been some ups and downs in recording. We are committed to 2 years to release an episode every other day. It is a push. It's going to require a lot of work on me, but I did dedicate myself to do that. We are still developing Foodtopia. That is still being worked through and things like that. Just had a meeting about that yesterday. These things, I don't give up so easily, and I do pivot. And so I know the audience has asked a lot of questions about it. There was timing in my life where I had to go back and rebuild a little bit who I am, rebuild myself spiritually, come to grips with who I truly am, and not as a businessman, not as a person in a relationship, but figure out who it was and what I wanted to do moving forward. And ultimately, whether it was just the way life is, I got pushed, I say by God, pulled, led, however I want to look at it, to continue down this path, use this, continue down, trying to produce a TV show. We'll see what happens. And do that because I think I can, my voice that's been given to me, I think I can help God's kingdom by spreading good. And one of the things I like about what Dennis just said is that he did it because he wanted to invest in his homeland and pay respect to his homage. If you go back and look at the first episode we did with Dennis, it was about the Palestinian American dream. We spent a lot of time talking about that in part 1. So I think it's important, and I think it's important when we have higher purposes in our businesses and in our existence, and we live by them. And when we don't, and we minimize ourselves, or we don't do what we're being asked to do, create jobs, better other people's lives, continually improve our business, put moral and ethics into our businesses that benefit the employees and their families, and ultimately know that the financial benefits of our business truly help individuals. It matters. And so that's the goodness we get to do in the world. When we realize those things and we realize that we have this great power of impact and influence, We need to go do better in the world. And Dennis just demonstrated that. He's creating jobs and creating opportunity in a place that needs it for sure. So love everyone. Love you guys. I'm out.